Hi, everyone. Joanna.
Okay.
All right.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
I have bread about to come out of the oven.
Oh,
I'm the sourdough person
You're
down.
just teasing everybody.
Let
I
me
know.
tell you, it smells amazing. It smells
I'm sure.
amazing. But any
Send
minute.
recipe. Send recipe, Hillary.
Oh, I will. It's the King Arthur multigrain boule, but I make my own seed mix.
Yeah.
With hemp hearts and pumpkin seeds and flaxseed and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, cool.
Does
You
it
can
make
do
you
that.
taller?
What's that?
Does it make you taller?
It does. It does, and it'll make you live to 110 years old or more.
I did the sourdough. It took a lot of remembering to feed it.
Yeah.
Maybe we can
Then
get.
I've had mine going since March. It's still, I'm home, so I do that, and I alternate pizza and sourdough bread, but I'm gonna go check it right now. Quick, I'll be
If we
right
ever
back.
get back to normal, we can have Helen's cookies and Hillary's bread.
There you go.
So Warren is not joining us tonight.
Uh-oh.
The timer was.
Means we have to deal with Anthony?
Yep, we got a deal.
Okay.
Are we waiting for anyone?
Hillary's bread.
Looks like we have everyone.
Ivan
Mike.
Ryder.
Mike, Joe, David, Helen, Hillary, George. Yeah, everyone's here.
Where's Georgie?
He's down there.
Yeah.
George, your video's not on.
Yeah, I know. It's by design because I'm eating.
Oh, okay. Well,
I just got home from work.
You're honest. That's cool.
You work?
Yeah. Sent COVID twice as hard, actually.
Okay, should we call this meeting to order?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a roll call, Helen? If you unmute yourself.
okay. Mike,
Here.
Hillary, I know you're here. Hi, Hillary.
Yeah.
Warren is excused. David.
Here.
George,
Here.
Yep.
Hear
And
me? I'm having a hard time.
Good evening, Mike. David's here.
hey, David.
Yeah, where's all this interference coming from?
David Paley, see, the sound was coming from you. I just muted you.
Good. Okay, did you get everyone, Helen? Okay. Roll call. Approval of minutes from February 17th.
So I just circulated those. I didn't realize that I hadn't sent those out until this afternoon. So if you didn't get a chance to read it, maybe we can just push that off to the next meeting.
Does everybody have them or we want to move them on? I'm sure they're okay. Well, we'll move them to the next meeting. Does that need a motion?
Yep.
Can I have a motion for that?
Yeah. Motion to move minutes of 17/2021 February to our next meeting.
I have a second.
It's the 17th.
Second, David.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
Roll call.
sorry. Mike,
Here.
Hillary,
Hi.
David,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Anthony,
Yes.
me too. Okay.
Okay. Moving on to correspondence. The only thing I really have to say, seeing on, there's some new people that were not here. on some of these issues that we're going to talk about. And I hope you guys don't get as frustrated as we were on the last time we spoke about these blight ordinances and so forth. But it's the way it is. So I'm just giving you as a heads up. Don't get frustrated. If nothing happens, it's par for the course. I guess we could start off with my favorite discussion is the discussion on the blight issues on Route 6. Is someone other than myself want to speak about the blight ordinance on Route 6? Now, we've sent in the past, Helen, you wrote the letters. We did send a number of letters to the town council as far back as 3 years ago. And it still looks the same to me as I drive up and down Route 6. So does anybody have a different idea on what to do or what we should do?
I'll just say I distributed, I think it was maybe, if it wasn't all of the previous correspondence, it was probably a good bulk of them that the planning board had previously sent to town council or any correspondence that the board has had about this previously for folks to review.
Do we have the building inspector with us?
He is not, he was not in today, unfortunately. He is not, but Anthony had made that request as well. So I'll be sure to invite him maybe for our next meeting to discuss that. But I certainly will pass along the conversation that we had obviously at the last meeting and any conversation that we have tonight for his information. I know there was interest in getting him involved, and the discussion was to, I guess, approach him to enforcing the existing state building code, is it, for the property or the property maintenance section of the state building code. That I think is what has been referred to in the past, and what in the I guess the one thing that might have some teeth as far as what this conversation is all about. So I did express that to him, and I think it probably is important to get him on for a planning board, so you guys can have that discussion with him and express your concerns. It'll take a tandem approach with the town council. Obviously, he reports to the town council. I spoke with Anthony briefly about that today. It'll be a matter of I guess priority for him. He's 24 hours a week, and so by I guess having some sort of agreement with the town council on how he should prioritize his time, that should probably be a discussion that he has with the town council. And obviously, it sounds like it would be something that the planning board would support him prioritizing, but I just want to put it in that context.
Above context, it would be probably productive for us to, as a planning board, extend an invitation. His name is Anthony. To the building.
Yeah.
His name is Jeff Likens.
Jeff. Okay. We need to invite Jeff to a meeting. Give him a specific meeting to review the budget that he's been equipped with by the council to enforce the state building code. Because unless we bring these violations to court and pursue that outcome, it's of no consequence. This is what Rhett demonstrated to us when he presented us with the state building code that covered most of our concerns. The issue was not whether or not the regulations. They do exist, covering most of the concerns we have about abandoned, vacant, and derelict property. The missing link was the ability to cite these violations and bring them to resolution legally, which is going to take money, right, Joanna? And
Yeah.
I don't think we're budgeted for that. So we'd have to have the council allocate specific funds to address our concerns in order to resolve the issue.
Well, then we might as well just pack it up. All right, they can't, they always seem to think, Mike, and you know that there isn't any money to even, to do anything. Okay, that's their biggest problem. But I believe if you read the state code and ordinance there, a lot of the things in that, or in the state code may cost us initially, but the way it's set up, it'd be attached to the landowner and we would receive the money in return. The landowner would have to pay for our legal fees,
But
one way or another.
that would be my point, Anthony, and I think we probably need to address this issue properly at this meeting,
Right.
especially with the new members. We probably need to ask Joanna to help us construct a motion and second it and discuss it. So some affirmative action can be taken to provide funding, as you stated, which would ultimately be recovered when the citations were executed and the fines were levied and the owners paid those fines. Because there's another level of inappropriate administration regarding derelict properties and abandoned properties on Route 6, and that is the, let's say, less than effective tax sale that allows ownership to remain a constant by having taxes due paid in lieu of property sale. Is everybody familiar with that past practice?
I am. I mean, I see what goes on. I also know that once it's, if it does get to court, judges rule in our favor and they don't pay, there's a lien on the property and they can't do anything after that, until we receive our money to release the liens. Hold on, George. Did you have any hand up there?
We have an
Or were you just-
unfortunate history
Yeah, you see.
of ownership carrying year to year, year on year.
The
Because-
state, but the state statute allows a 1-year right of redemption for the owner.
And
So
we-
that's not Foster specific.
I think we've gone way beyond 1 year on a lot of these properties where ownership remains constant, taxes remain delinquent, and tax sales don't accomplish the intended purpose, which is to acquire new ownership to effectively change the nature of the property. Why we see these properties derelict, some of them going to decades of dereliction, is because ownership remains constant and the attitude is if I back into tax payment, I can retain my property and hold on to it until I see a buyer who's willing to pay my price. This is kind of like blight in the city. And I think Anthony's familiar with that. And nobody wants these properties because they look so bad. Why do they look so bad? Is because the owners are allowed to retain literally ownership, even though year on year they're derelict in their taxes. So the year redemption, I think, is pretty clear in the statute. But the consistent behavior of owners is not what our intention was. Our intention was to be cooperative and lenient and allow someone a chance to recover. And in fact, what we've done is we've just continued to see these properties age over time in the same derelict condition. So that's why I asked if the building inspector was on board with this.
Yeah, I want to see what I asked Michael today, Mike, I want to see his outlook on what he thinks and how we should handle it. George, you had a question you were gonna ask.
Yeah, I mean, Mike kind of answered some of it, but I was curious to if there is a list, if you will, of perhaps communications, and I'm sure there is somewhere, with the individual property owners and determining why, what is their root cause for not updating their property? Is there a financial hardship? Do they need some assistance? Are they just completely ignoring us out of spite? Like, I'm sure it's a mix of all, right?
George, to be, without cutting you short, to be honest with you, okay? A lot of the buildings that, in a lot of the blight and the derelict that's on there,
Yep.
okay, really is not a person that's, a lot of them, like Mike said, are just abandoned. You know which ones they are. I can't finger them out or point them out. We can't talk about that, okay? It's not like a business that we can't. The last time I named, the pool place, everybody got mad at me. So I can't say that anymore. And so.
Joanne, are we not allowed to name places?
If you're gonna talk about somebody or a particular person's property, you need to give them notice.
Okay, there you go, Georgie.
Just to discuss the property?
I got scolded on this. The last time I talked about the hotels and how bad it was, they got mad at me.
I mean, and Anthony, I see that you're slipping the names in there. I know,
Oh,
I know what you're doing.
I'm so, Joanna, I'm so sorry. I was gonna mention the hopscotch sign, but I didn't say anything about it.
But I mean, the point being that you're having a public meeting and you're talking about somebody's property and the potential of things that you want to do with that person's property, they have the right to be noticed and present.
Correct. So we all know what we're talking about, George. I don't think anybody is oblivious to
I guess
which ones we're talking about. And I don't think most of them, I don't see any financial hardships on any of that stuff. It's just something financial hardships. Some of these buildings have been, like Michael said, for decades. And without being redundant, I've been preaching this choir. Now I'm going to say something here that's going to offend some people. Joanna, you yourself, because you're the attorney, it's easy for the attorneys to kick it down the road and say it's illegal, this and that, and they just charge more money, make more money. But that's their business. That's what they do. Okay. And then we have the town council that really doesn't want to ruffle any feathers or whatever the case may be. And nothing really happens. So if anybody has a set of gonads, and hopefully the new building zoning official has, and goes out there and violates people and has the backing to violate these people, maybe we can see something happen. Now, all it does, 1 second, Joanna, all it does is doesn't hurt. It also hurts the value of the abutting property owners. It also hurts the opportunity to bring in new people and new things. We all know the answers and everything that's wrong. It's just somebody has to do something. Okay, so I think I preach this and everybody already knows, and I'm not even supposed to be talking.
So Anthony, to answer my question, is there a list?
Yes, in fact, Michael sent out a list of.
I saw that.
I think we have it.
And that's pretty much a lot of it. I'm not even supposed to be discussing this. I'm only supposed to be refereeing amongst you people. I was told I gotta be the chairman and I can't speak about these things. So if nobody else wants to speak about them, David, go ahead, buddy.
So if there's a violation given and there's a fine imposed, it can't be enforced. It can only be enforced by a court. Is that what
Yeah.
happens? Or?
We don't have a municipal court, so we have to go and
Right.
enforce it in state court. That's the only way that we can enforce it.
And it's gonna cost more than the fines to do that.
Sometimes, and it also takes a much longer time than if there was
Right.
a quicker court to get to. But I just wanted to clarify about what Anthony was saying about some of the properties that you're talking about that are abandoned and stuff like that. The state building code, in order to condemn something, the building official has to do that. So I couldn't personally do it. The town council can't do it. It has to be the building official who is, the person who holds that specific license, who's authorized to do that. So I do think it might be important for you to speak to the building official, because Red had the authority to do it on any number of properties. It wasn't done. So that is the decision of the building official exclusively. So it might be something that you want, if he comes to the meeting, he can talk about what qualities deem a property to be condemned, so that the town could take action to knock it down, to have the file to make the person knock it down, or things like that. So that, I
Okay.
think that's, aside from just fixing certain blighted issues, the whole condemning property, that's a whole separate discussion, or
Yes.
more.
I'm
Right.
sorry, David, should you recuse yourself on this?
Why?
Do you
Why?
own property along Route 6 that's,
But we're not talking about any
No.
specific property.
okay, so it's general? I don't know the rules.
That's why we're not naming any names.
No. Okay.
So, there was a question raised of finding communication through these, anybody who's received violation notice under that, under that statute. I mean, I could ask Mickey at the clerk's office if because she typically sends out the correspondence from the building official to property owners. If the board wanted me to just find those things and provide them, I'm sure I could. But other than that, like I said, you do have the list of the properties that was created, that was sent to you.
Just drive down Route 6 and pick out what you don't like, that you feel is really affecting the town. It's affecting our growth. It's affecting our pride. It's affecting our status. It's affecting everything the town of Foster stands for. Okay? And I don't want to hear anything else from anybody telling me that any different. Okay? And it just gets bigger, and there's more crap that's happening on Route 6, and they just keep getting away with it. So how does the board want to handle this part of the blight ordinance? I said my speech. I don't know what else to do other than, personally, we get the building inspector in here and ask him what he wants to do. It's unfortunate he's in an office that he shares with the biggest culprit in the world. So it's going to be difficult for him to have an unbiased opinion. So
I'll certainly have a conversation with Jeff Monday morning, inviting him to the next planning board. And if in the meantime, Anthony, if you want to stop by the office, and I'm sure we can.
yeah, I'll do that. We'll go over and see what Rhett has really done or sent out. We don't even have to bother you, Joanna, on that. Any letters he sent out, we can get them and go from there and see what the answers were. And if it's something that legally you guys have done or working on, then we'll know what's going on from there.
There are a couple of things, but I don't think that they're dealing with the properties that you're talking about.
Okay.
But I do think that your next agenda item also kind of goes hand in hand, because if you're trying to fix blight, one way is to punish, but that may not be the easiest way to get things moving. So trying to enhance economic development, I think, is also a tool that the planning board can use to try to address some of the blight on Route 6.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mr. Chair, is a motion in order?
If you want to put one there, I'd like to hear it.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we schedule a meeting specifically to fund the building inspector in order so that he can have the resources necessary, both legal and administrative, to effectively enforce the provisions of the state building code by bringing those violations to legal resolution and enhance our opportunity to improve economic development on the Route 6 corridor. That would involve a specific action plan with dates and times offered to the council for action at their next scheduled meeting. I'm trying to box in, I see you, Helen, and hopefully I can remember everything I said. But
I think I got most of it, Helen.
the intent here would be to empower our new building inspector with the resources that he needs to enlist Joanna's help and follow up on the violations, to do, as Anthony said, collect the money but even more than that, to resolve the issue of continued violation that would enhance our economic development by including in my motion an action plan with specific dates and times for action by the council at a specific meeting, agenda-wise. We would then force a response to our letter, because this motion would require a summary letter, okay, to be written at the end of the meeting with the building inspector, to be submitted with our intent to the council. We've consistently discussed this problem over 10 years. No effective action is taken because there's a certain amount of satisfaction. And at the council level, I can understand that. The reason this problem continues is because they continue to collect the taxes due on these derelict properties. We, as a planning board, need to see a change of ownership. The way we can force that is to enforce the building code.
So is, Helen, you have a question there, and that's a long motion. Did you get all of that?
Helen, you're muted. Helen, you're muted.
I am unmuted.
There you go.
There you go.
I would just like to address making motions, because we tend, this is as the secretary, you know, we're recording this, we can go back and look at what the motion is. But when we make a motion, we need to make a specific motion, not get into the whole discussion of why, you know, I mean, Mike, you are eloquent in explaining why it's a good idea that we have the meeting with the building inspector, but I sort of think that the only thing that we need in the motion is that you move to schedule a meeting with the building inspector ASAP, basically.
You can yell at him, Helen. Go ahead. You can yell at him.
I put everything in the motion, and if you wish to reduce the motion or condense the motion to a specific task, I would recommend that my outline for actions to be taken be submitted as an addendum to the motion. So if you wish to do that,
Wait.
that's fine.
Somebody needs to second the motion,
And
or
what's,
it needs to be
No one seconds.
withdrawn, or nobody seconds it, and then somebody makes a new motion. Those are your options.
and what-
Thank you for parliamentary, Joanna. That's true. Nobody seconded the motion, so we really can't even discuss.
Oh, we don't know yet.
Can I
Does
ask
anybody
you-
want to second that motion?
Mike, you're talking about motioning for the building inspector. Has anyone had a conversation? The town council has rejected this a few
But-
times.
Let's
Wait,
not change
you
that
have
subject. Let's
to
get
do
this one
something
first.
with the motion.
Second,
I guess
second,
this
David.
could be an addition
David,
to the motion.
David,
We can't talk about the motion until it's either seconded or it's.
David has seconded the motion.
Okay,
David seconded the motion. Helen? You want to take a vote on this, Helen?
This is,
Helen, did you want to move to make an amendment? To
No,
amend the,
Now discussion, not a vote.
Okay,
Vote after.
discussion.
can
I'm sorry.
somebody please repeat the motion?
Oh, yeah, good shot.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Helen,
oh, no.
okay?
And Mike,
And I'll keep the motion brief. And then I'll add the addendum now that the motion is seconded.
Right.
I would say, let's agree with Helen. We have a motion and a second. I suggest that we reduce the motion to a meeting with the building inspector.
you want to amend the motion?
Amend the motion. And I move that we schedule a meeting with the building inspector
To discuss
to
Blight
discuss
ordinance
the state building maintenance code.
and/or to address the blight on Route 6 and elsewhere in the city.
Thank you, Joanna.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay. Now you can discuss.
Discussion. Lynn Ryder,
Lynn, you're muted.
you're muted, Lenny. Where'd you go? Oh, there you are.
Ooh, yeah.
Nope,
You're
still
still
muted.
You can
I'm
press the space bar. If you press the space bar,
Unmute, Lynn.
Okay,
There you go, Lynn.
there I
We got-
am. I'm
you-
on my iPad and I don't usually do this on my iPad.
That's all right.
I just want to say a couple of council meetings ago, the building inspector, the new building inspector came forward with his frustrations about our ordinances and how in many cases they don't go far enough or they are totally antiquated and they do not allow him to address certain things. The council kind of threw around how to go about doing that, how much it would cost. There was a bit of cost associated, and it was not decided on how that may be funded in order to do that. But anyways, he has expressed his frustration in the fact that he can't enforce what's not there.
Okay, thanks, Lynn. Something you got something to say, Georgie?
I was just, Lynn kind of touched upon it. I was going to say, can we include into the motion, not just the building inspector, but also people of the town council so we can get their perspective on it? If this thing has gotten squashed so many times, has anyone stopped and asked why?
Good luck.
Am I naive, Anthony? I know you think I'm naive, but
No, you're not naive, but you're naive.
yeah, yeah, I get it. But if anyone's actually, instead of, we've got this battle going back and forth with council, it seems, which I don't feel a part of. But what I'm trying to accomplish here is can we bridge the two and come to some type of agreement that's coercive for all? Is that the right word?
Joanna, do we have to, if we invite the town council to our planning board meeting, do they have to come with more than, do they have to, I mean, like right now, Denise
need
is
to have-
listening in on here, so how do we do this?
if you wanted to do that, you'd have to have they would have to agree to have a joint meeting with you. It would have to be a public meeting. Because if just one person came, they could not necessarily speak for the council.
Okay, so the whole time, they'd have to have a quorum join our meeting
And we'd have to publish it as a joint meeting.
on an agenda item, right? Correct? Not some major deal.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we need to do.
Can I make a motion?
Go right ahead.
Oh, wait,
Motion to
no,
have-
no,
Hold on.
wait,
Oh, wait a minute, we didn't vote, sorry.
we
No more
have
vote.
a motion. Yeah.
Helen's calling timeout. Go ahead, Helen, your 30-second timeout.
Can we please vote on the motion that's on the table? And then we
Correct.
go to another motion, okay?
Correct.
And so,
Go ahead, Helen, call them out.
okay, so this motion is on having the building official come to a soon planning board meeting. Mike Carpenter,
Yes.
thank you.
Oh, wait, Mike didn't vote.
Mike,
Huh?
Mike Carpenter,
Where'd he go? Oh, there he is.
Right here.
Say
yeah,
aye.
you,
You voting on your motion or not?
Yes.
yeah, Hillary,
Yes,
David,
Yes.
George,
oops.
No, because I want to do it in conjunction with the town council.
Well,
okay.
that's another motion. We'll
Anthony,
make another motion.
Anthony,
Okay,
Vote on this one and we'll make another motion.
okay, then aye.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I,
Aye, Helen.
okay, and me too. Okay,
You got a motion, George? Make a motion.
Yes. I motion that we have a meeting with both the town council and the building inspector to discuss blight issues and together developing a plan that's going to be good for the town.
Very good.
George, do you think that it might make more sense, because the planning board is an advisory board, that you guys meet with the building official first, come up with the action plan, and then you have you request a joint meeting with the town council so that you can with an actual plan before you get there, rather
Exactly.
than trying to develop it with them? Do you know what I mean?
Take it to
Well, I
that.
don't know. It depends if we're going to get the buy-in from them or not. If it's developed with them, then you have the buy-in. You know what I mean? If you just come up with something, you might not have the buy-in, but if you work together, then we're all in agreement together. So I don't know if that would make it easier or not easier.
Well, they have to, I mean, your job as a planning board is to come to them with a plan, and then they can start, saying, well, maybe this, but if you don't come to them with a plan, it may not, I mean, it's up to you guys, but
But George, no, I like what George, listen, George, I like what George is doing, okay, because let them get in on the plan and let's watch them, because they're
Right, I
gonna
think
know
it makes
about it,
more
and we can
sense. We
watch them
tried it the other way.
backpedal. We can watch them backpedal and give us the answers why, where, and when, okay? And
I
I'd
mean,
rather I want to do it that way without giving them a plan and spending all our time doing a plan, and then it goes to them and they just, deep six it. So, is there a second for George's motion?
I'll second it.
I will also tell you that they can
Say no.
Well,
They-
no, they can tell you, go back and develop a plan and then come talk to us.
They
Then that's
could
what
very
we'll
well
do.
do that.
And then that's what we'll do.
But you're also, the building official only has so many hours that he has allotted time to work. So I don't want to have Jeff waste time where he could be out writing violations.
Make a note of it. I will pay Jeff's 2 hours that he's gonna be here. I can afford it. Okay, I will pay him personally out of my pocket to come to this meeting, okay, to talk to us. Write that down in the notes, okay? He's not gonna get shortchanged, okay, at $22,000 a year in taxes. Another $50 won't bother me. Lynn,
I just wanted to ask Joanna a question. Somewhere I remember hearing that if the council has a joint meeting with another board, it is actually the council's meeting
Yes,
and they run the meeting?
yes.
really? Okay.
But is this about a control issue or is this about making our town better? That's what's frustrating me. It's like, this isn't about control. This is about Foster, taking pride in our town, caring about our town. Who cares who's in control? Let's get this fixed. God's sakes.
Naive. I'm only kidding you, Georgie.
Well, you know what? Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need the naive.
You're right, man. I'm all in with you, Hillary.
That's why I joined this thing.
Love you, George. Anyway,
Thank you.
it feels like if our time would be better spent developing with the building inspector and developing a plan that then the town council would have a hard time arguing with.
I don't
If-
think
Well, right. Well, they won't if it's a good plan. So it just feels like we're opening up a can of worms to try and make it a joint meeting.
I don't know. I think by having a joint meeting, everything's out in the open, it's recorded, everyone can see, the town's invited, they can bring their input to it. And my naive side of me thinks we can work together to formulate a plan for Foster to move forward.
But
Michael?
we're gonna have to have a joint meeting eventually, but if we have
Yeah.
the joint meeting after we've actually done our legwork and created a plan that's viable and
I mean,
has
the-
the support of the building inspector, then it just feels like.
But I guess the plan is the Rhode Island plan that we want to adopt, right?
I know. Hold on, George. Michael?
I was just gonna say, because it seems like we're doing a lot of hedging our bets and sort of planning ahead. Why don't we just focus on the next initial step, which is engaging the building official in the conversation and see where that takes you. And then, I mean, I like George's idea. I mean, it's a great idea to the way he described it, to get the buy-in. I mean, yeah, that's a good idea. But it seems as though we're spinning our wheels with how to proceed with that. And let's not concern ourselves with the dynamics of that right now. Let's just go take the first step, have the building official here, have a conversation, and then take it from there. I know we're eager to get things done and to plan it out, so we know specifically. It seems like we're trying to create a timeline here for ourselves already, and I understand that, but I don't know. I feel like it'd be good to just get Jeff here and talk to him first, and then take it from there. That's just how it strikes me. But it's pleasure of the board for sure.
Whatever the pleasure is of the board, I'll go either way. I understand what you want to do, George, and I know exactly what Michael wants to do in a way. I do agree with Michael. Let's pick this guy's brain, see where he's coming from, and like Hillary's saying, and we can get together, okay, without putting him on the spot with the council in front of him and so forth. So,
And
know,
then-
Helen?
and develop a plan in conjunction with the council?
yeah, yes.
We-
Helen?
We have voted to invite the building official to come to a planning board meeting.
Yes,
That's been
Already
voted.
done.
yes.
Have a motion by George, seconded by Mike, to have a joint meeting with the town council. So we either need to vote on that or ask George to withdraw his motion.
I won't withdraw my motion.
Can I suggest you can vote on that and then maybe after the next meeting when we discuss with Jeff, then we can discuss
When?
scheduling that actual meeting.
That's-
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so the motion is to schedule a meeting with the town council and the building inspector, building official. So I'm doing the vote on that, okay?
Go
So
ahead, Helen.
Mike Carpenter,
Aye.
Hillary,
I,
David,
Yes,
George,
Yes,
Anthony.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, good. Mike Carpenter. Mike Carpenter, one thing you had said that after I was thinking about it on the taxes with the properties, leaving them like that. And it struck my head because I'm looking at my evaluation that everybody else got, reevaluation. How much can these derelict properties that are really derelict properties, how much can we're actually losing tax money on them being the way they are. How much can they possibly be taxed? I mean, if they put an evaluation on some of these abandoned buildings, they can't be valued that much for such a tax for keeping them. You follow where I'm going with this, Mike? It's almost the same if it was flat and the land would probably be worth more than the derelict piece of building on it.
It is precisely worth more than the buildings. Or in that case, Anthony, worth far more than the business that doesn't exist there.
Correct.
Because the benefit to the town is both the taxable property and the business and the service it provides to the town.
Right.
So we're losing the town has a history of losing revenue from taxes, losing revenue from town business and jobs, and losing service for the town. We have a big hole to plug. That's why I agreed to schedule a meeting with the new building inspector to get his take.
Yeah.
I think that's a great first step. I totally agree with George that the council needs to be involved. How we involve the council is a matter for advice from our solicitor, because we need to engage the council to keep it from becoming a threat to the new building inspector. And we need to engage the council in a positive way with an action plan and a timeline so we can hold their feet to the fire
Okay.
and make them fund the new building inspector. No one before me would disagree that unless we have the money to go forward with the action plan, this is an ineffective action on our part to create an action plan. We've all
Okay.
been witness to the Economic Development Council that was not funded, that did not produce a report simply because they were not funded. If you want something to happen, we have to be able to hire professionals who can produce effective action to correct the problem. That would be the first order of business in discussions with the building inspector.
Okay, Michael, I don't want to cut you short,
I
but
know you do.
I do.
It's okay.
I only asked you a question, but that's okay. I love you. Okay. Because these next ones are gonna get pretty interesting. A recommendation to the town council to create a finance committee.
Oh, wait.
Oh, what happened?
George
Huh?
made a motion. George made a motion. There was a
We
second,
voted,
You voted on it, I thought.
we all voted.
but Mike then,
Yeah, we're gonna do the, Mike agreed, we're gonna have the zoning official here, discuss what we have to do with him, and then invite get a plan and then invite the town council to a joint meeting.
but
Two
that was
separate
not, that was not the motion that George made.
No,
What'd you make?
I need to work
Yeah.
with the town council to
Oh,
develop.
yeah,
a plan.
that's what I meant.
Okay,
Okay.
but so what are we doing? And
Um,
we
I
didn't
thought-
take the vote on George's motion.
I thought it was two
We
different
did, and we said yes.
motions.
There were two different motions, but
Yeah,
so are we going with George's way or Mike's way?
We're, sorry if I'm out of turn here. We're having, it's both, right? We're having the building inspector come and talk with us, but then the plan is gonna be developed together with the town council, provided the town council is willing, which I know they must be willing. I can't imagine them not be willing. You know,
But-
they love the town just as much as we do. They have to.
So Mike's
Yeah.
thing about an action plan coming first, that's not what we're doing. I just think you need to clarify what we're doing.
Oh, I don't think there's an action plan first. I think we're meeting, correct, Mike Antelonis? We're meeting with,
I'm sorry, we're, the way I described it, which I think is the way that we're going, which is we're going to have the building official come at the next available meeting to discuss, just, talk to him, pick his brain.
educate us.
Yeah, if it gets to developing a plan, I'm sure we can touch that as well. And then the second motion, which was to engage the town council by having a joint meeting, that what my suggestion was is we meet with Jeff first. That's fine that we have a motion. In my opinion, it was fine that we have a motion to schedule a meeting with the town council, but at the next meeting, we would then take the steps to actually get this, I guess, start scheduling or start looking at times that we could get that actually underway. Does that make sense, or is that?
We need to have the secretary read the motions that were voted on.
Oh, boy.
Just
Yeah.
the second motion, Helen.
You muted, Helen. I know.
I have, I have to mute. George made a motion to have a meeting with the building official and town council to develop an action plan jointly, and Mike seconded it. Now, this is the second meeting. Our first meeting was the meeting with the building official to come up with our proposal for a plan. And our second meeting is the meeting with the the building official and the town council to jointly, cooperatively come up with a plan. And Mike seconded that, I believe. And we voted on that.
You okay with that, Joanna?
Yeah, I personally think you guys should come up with a plan and then present it, but that's,
Apparently, we've tried that several times and it didn't work. So I think we got to take a different road. What's the definition of insanity?
it's not what's happened. There's been a letter that said do something about Route 6. There's never been an action plan and then sitting down and meeting. I mean, because your job is to advise. So when you go there, you should advise, say, we've done the research, this is what it is. So that the council then has something to look at rather than, okay, like we kind of think this, and then somebody else, let's research it some more.
Well, Joanna, let me ask you this. We advised 9 letters, made it in the last 3 years, okay, sent 9 letters advising them what to do. We were going to come up with our own blight ordinance. We didn't do the blight ordinance. We adopted the state blight ordinance, which covers everything. I mean, we've done everything we possibly can, okay? Advise the town council to do it.
You
The
ask
same
them,
members are there.
Right,
And
you
they've done
ask
nothing.
you ask them to have their zoning official enforce the state building code and check how many violations were issued pursuant to that code.
Okay, so we're gonna get the,
But so that was obviously that was a solution that didn't work.
okay, all right, okay,
I
okay,
I
here's what.
understand where I understand where you're coming from.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get Jeff
Before you
in
vote.
here. George, we're gonna get Jeff in here. Keep that second motion on the table. Doesn't mean we have to do it or not do it. Let's get Jeff in here, see how much different he is, what his intentions are, what he needs, and we'll make an advisement and work hand in hand with the town council and see what they want to do. And we'll do, and I know where we have to go with that. So let's just move on to the next one and keep them in place the way they are. The motion police are not gonna come and get us, so I won't worry about it, okay? Moving on. A recommendation to the town council to create a finance committee. Has anybody really had any thoughts about that? Or what do they think about that? I believe the reason why I mentioned it is you guys saw what we went through coming up with a budget at the beginning of the year when they came in front of us and we agreed in their wish list. It doesn't really matter what we say. It's all up to the council, but and myself, I feel if there are 3 people minimum with more experience than us on a committee that can honestly look at it a lot better than we did, and they bring it to us and we make the recommendation to the council like we did, or they make the recommendation. Every town almost in the world has a financial finance committee. I believe we must be one of the only ones that don't have one. And it's no disrespect to Kelly. It's nothing about what Kelly does. This might help make her job a little easier, having somebody else put something forward to her. I know this has been mentioned years and years and years ago with different town councils, and they've never adopted it. So that's just my little opening up the door. The rest is up to you. What is the count? As they say, what is the board's pleasure? That's a good one.
Joanne, I have a question. This is obviously would be a recommendation from the planning board to the town council to adopt this. How should the board formulate their motion for this? Just because it could be very broad strokes. Obviously, the board could say, we make a motion to recommend that the town council, adopt a finance committee. But obviously, there's a lot of details that can be filled, that should be filled in. Maybe it's not by the planning board here, but what would you suggest at this moment? Should they muddy the waters and really wade into the details? I mean, okay.
Because I mean, the job of the planning board is to do just that. It is to be the person or the board to kind of get in the weeds, if you will, so that when you get to the council, you've done a lot of the legwork. You could send them this recommendation and they could put a finance committee on anything. I mean, you want to give them at least, in my opinion, if you guys have a target for this finance committee, so you should give as much direction and detail as you'd like. You could give them a little bit of direction and then they might take it where they want to go. But if you have a specific idea, I think the more detail, the better.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I can't make a motion. Oh, anybody have any thoughts on this here? Because I have an idea what I'm gonna do. Helen?
I'd like to hear your idea, Anthony. I was going to say, maybe if a couple of people, if we have a subcommittee, I think we can have 3 people, meet with each other separately and brainstorm this a little bit rather than having to do it at the meeting. And come up with a proposal that board would might be a more productive way to deal with it. what I didn't, I'm interested in what you were going to say, Anthony.
What I was gonna say is I want to do some homework on this. I'm gonna go and dig in on, I have a lot of friends that are on other town councils in other towns. And I just want to ask them, I'll make some phone calls tomorrow. How do you people do it? Who do you use? What are you gonna do? And these are towns from small ones to big ones, and see what their financial, what it consists of. Do they have an accountant on it? Do they have an attorney on it? I really don't know. I just know that when they bring that stuff in front of us, it's a joke. Okay, and it'll be exactly like you said, Helen, subcommittee type of thing, but I want to find out really what it's about. I mean, I'm not afraid to say I don't know, but because I don't know, okay, and I'm gonna go find out. And on our next meeting, I will report to us and I'll let everybody in on it ahead of the meeting on what I came up with. And then maybe we can take some bits and pieces out of that and see if it's something we wanna follow.
And
I mean,
Anthony, by let everybody know, you mean that you'll send Mike the information so that he can distribute it to the rest of the board?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'll do it with open meeting laws. We're gonna do it at Helen's. We're gonna go have a drink and talk about it. Of course I'm gonna do that.
You're gonna give me a heart attack.
Yes.
I
Like,
will.
please indicate that you're joking after the end of that.
Okay, I'm just kidding. Make a note of that. Put that in the minutes. I'm just kidding. Yes, I
Yeah,
will get that and find out so Michael, I will get that to you before the next meeting.
Sure.
You can send it out. Everybody can read what I came up with, and because I really don't know. I mean, Michael, the town you worked in, the last town you worked in, they have a financial.
Yeah, and they set the budget. That's how that operated. So like, there's, and I'm sure there's a variety of different ways that finance committees can operate. So, and that's kind of why I phrased my question, Joanna, the way I did. We'll have to figure out how it's a finance committee is going to work and or fit into the town charter, right? So it's just that's sort of those details to figure out.
Okay.
But we start with the broad stuff, what you want it to do, and then we can figure out the details from there.
Exactly. Each town's probably different, I'm sure, but pretty close on what they do. So I'll go find out. Very simple. I've done it before. I just call up guys that are on town councils and ask them what they do, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay. The update regarding the economic development survey. And the winner is?
So I'll just jump in quickly. I didn't get a whole lot of responses from people. I know Helen sent me an email saying, Helen, it took you, 20 or 25 minutes to get through the survey, something like that. And, obviously, and praised George and Hillary for their efforts on it. So anybody, I don't think I got any comments from anybody else. Mike, I think you had some comments.
I did the survey.
Yeah.
I have it with me, and took me about 25 minutes, and I guess ready. What specific information were you looking for on your survey?
What did you like about the survey? What do you think needs improvement?
Well, I can go through it with the comments that I made, if you'd like.
Is that we can go through it, but is that something you can also email to Mike? So in the next time,
Well, I
he'll
emailed it to Mike.
have him in front of us.
Yeah, I emailed you the completed survey, Mike. I don't know if you got it or not.
Yep. Let me. I'll find it.
Okay.
It's on the most recent list, Mike. I was working late, so I didn't have a chance to look at it.
Yeah, that was, and I guess the number of questions, and I also put together a budget for Mike. Did you keep
Yes.
that, Mike?
Oh yeah. That might. Yeah.
Okay, because here's the budget that we put together, or I put together for Mike. I sent an email, said, thanks, Mike, completed 2021 survey attached, took about 25 minutes to complete. Budget for the following at our next meeting, okay? Here we go, guys, and I hate to be business-like about this stuff, but if you don't have any money in this country, you're not going to get anything done, period. Get that in your head, okay? Unless it's in the budget, it doesn't happen. And sometimes it doesn't happen even if it's in the budget, unless good, well-intended people like us who work for zero push the buttons.
Is
The budget would be this,
email
okay? You didn't have a budget with your survey. I thought your survey was good. Okay, it took 25 minutes to complete. I had compliments, covered a lot of ground. It was a Google survey, all right? Generally covered the ground. But you need to establish, we need, if we're going to be serious about getting this out to Foster residents, at this meeting, okay, we need to budget $250, okay, to mail out the survey forms with posted paid return envelopes.
Mike, I don't want to interrupt you, but I don't think we were quite at that point yet.
You need to be at that point before you even think
Well,
about,
we got to get the survey approved before we can budget the mailing.
you need to get the finances approved before you.
Otherwise, you're wasting your time. What Mike is saying, if
You
they're not
need-
gonna give us any money for you to send out a survey, okay, with an answer, then why do the work to do the survey? You might do all that work to get the survey, and then they tell us there's no money to send out the surveys and get a response, and then it's sitting on your desk, George. You know what I mean?
The last survey went out with the tax bills, okay?
Right,
But
but
you
a
need-
good portion of this survey is to be done online. So the cost is less. I mean, we want to do both, right? We want to mail some, but we also,
You
the
just-
whole idea
just-
was to do a Google form to make it
Yeah, just
more widespread.
bear with me,
Okay.
okay? Because surveys online get about as much play as, I don't want to be inappropriate. So 250 to mail out surveys with postage return envelopes, 500 to either set up a raffle, okay? Which is why you would complete the survey, automatically enter you in a $500 raffle, or a $250 gift card to local foster business, which could be co-op, or a 250 matching donation to foster volunteer fire department or ambulance corps, and $500 for signs, okay? And add in the foster home journal to announce the survey details. Without the visibility, okay, your survey's not gonna work. George, you know that better than anybody. Walmart puts it on the back of their register tapes, okay, and gives you a $1,500 reward if you complete a survey, or puts you in a lottery for a $1,500 reward. I guess that's really, really important. So adopt the survey, promote the survey, mail the survey, reward the survey, and get the results, because we got 300 results last time out of 5,000 people in the town total, which is okay, but we're serious about floating a survey because we're serious about looking at the results. So without a budget, once again, we're not able to accomplish our goal any more than we can collect the fines that are levied against business owners who don't comply with business regulations. I hate to be a dollars and cents guy, but that's a key element that we need to agree on at this meeting if we're going to go forward with the survey.
So I sent everybody Mike's comments. I apologize for not including it, but I just sent out an email that has Mike's comments, and I included that with the meeting materials that I have on file. Mike, I did take your proposed budget and I put it into the planning department's budget, assuming that it's something that we can do, see what we get approved for, obviously, and then take it from there.
Okay.
I never thought of a prize with the survey, but it makes sense. Give somebody a reason to fill it out. I thought, George, it was a little long. I thought some of the questions were pretty much the same, only worded different, getting the same,
Part of the goal.
getting the same results. A lot of the questions were just worded different, but it was the same answer type of thing, which some surveys, that's what you do to see if the people are really answering the question and not just doing it. But my thoughts on the survey is, was kind of like really clean, almost like not as simple as how I'm going to put it, but basically what they like, what they don't like, and what they'd like to see. You know what I mean? Those three things economically,
Mhm.
but you got to be careful so that everybody, you don't want the answer of, oh, we'd like to have a coffee shop, or we want this. Everybody wants all that stuff, but basically what they don't like about what's going on, what they do like, which you had a lot of questions of what they liked in Foster, okay? And what would they like to see that would make Foster better? Without just asking three questions. That was just my take on it. And it's kind of long, but what Mike just says, putting a prize to it, maybe people take a little more time to do it. Me, it was so long, I was like, okay, I'm done after this. I mean, I don't even read a menu. I mean, I just get bored. Okay, so that's just me. Okay.
We could probably trim it down. We discussed that a few times. There are some questions that could be combined, and that would.
But you can see the work you guys put in it. I mean, there's so much work in it. I mean, I almost don't even want to like make a comment to it, because I know you guys worked on it quite a bit.
That's okay, Anthony. I'm taking notes. I mean, if there's something that you guys would like to see that's not included, something that you think is redundant, that is why we sent the survey out early, right, Hillary? So,
Yep.
Mike, so we can get that feedback. This is not the final draft. I loved Mike's idea last meeting about assigning a prize, and I think the best thing to do is to promote, foster businesses when assigning a prize. If we can find someone who's, got a little, cottage type business that we can purchase something from or get a gift card to, the restaurants we can get gift cards to. I think that's great. It shows that we want to be part of the community.
Right.
But
and sorry, Helen, 1 second, but from a mathematical standpoint, or people might, if we had 5 chances to win a $50 gift card as opposed to 1 chance to win $250, we might actually get better.
Yeah, let everybody get a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
Helen?
I two things. One was, I'm not sure whether Michael gave my feedback, Michael Antonellis, whether you gave the feedback that I.
In there, yeah.
I just recited it, but I'll send out a copy of yours as well and have a copy on that for the record as well. I apologize.
I thought that it was having to actually write out your reasons for things. It's a little painful, but it's a good idea. So I think there were some things I didn't want to pick one thing out of a list of things. I wanted to rank, 1, 2, 3 or something.
So that is, Helen, that is completely possible with the survey. If there's a consistent feedback, I mean, we can send this to other people too for feedback, but if there's a consistent feedback about a question where we want to do a ranking order, I can redo that question to create a ranking order, or Hillary and I can do that very easily.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem.
I love Mike Carpenter's suggestion of having a couple of different possibilities for a prize, including, gift card to a local place, a raffle prize, or a contribution to the ambulance. I think those things would have a lot of buy-in from incentivize people to do it.
Or even the Foster Preservation Society.
Whoa.
Whatever.
This way, Anthony can learn about new trails and stuff and go fishing.
I know.
Oh,
Okay, so that's pretty
all
good.
right, guys. Oh, David has.
David, you got something to say there, buddy?
Yeah, I took the survey. I thought it was generally very good. It was a little long. I thought it was a little long anyway, but the only thing that I would say is when you answer a question and then you're asked, please, why would you have to explain your answer? Some of them would say, can you please,
So those are
please
actually,
explain your answer to the above question when you already gave them the answer.
so those are actually optional answers to elaborate on your answer.
Yeah.
We don't have to make that a required to fill the survey. Maybe what we'll do is we'll put I just thought we
Optional.
could get more.
Yeah, it seemed a little redundant because you had already answered it and then you have to explain why you answered it like that.
Right, so we can leave that as optional. We can actually put a little word that says this is optional. Do you see any value in explaining the answer? I thought it might, or I think.
I guess there could be value to it, but taking a survey, like for me to take a survey, it's like I go right by them all the time, you know?
Okay,
So you want to make it not easy, but you know, you want to get the right information, but when you answer it, then you have to explain the answer. I just didn't see a point for that.
Miss Ryder. You're muted. There you go.
I think that you want to make it as benign as possible. So instead of explain your answer, maybe would you like to explain your
Right.
answer? Most people won't
Right.
because they don't like to write.
I like
And if
that.
it's not on there, you know, if they can't do it with their thumbs, they're up the creek. But, you know, just make it a little less demanding.
Well said.
Okay, good. That's great. I mean, and we'll move right along here for the pièce de résistance. Here we go. Behind door number 3. Proposal for wind turbine zoning ordinance. Now, I spoke to Michael today. And I'm gonna do something a little bit different so we can make things go hopefully a little quicker. I'm gonna kind of, before we have a discussion, and we just quickly give a 2-minute answer or 3-minute answer on each one of us on the board, their thoughts on a wind turbine, and then we'll kind of be able to know what we're going to do with an ordinance, and which track to go down. Okay, so it makes it quicker, no arguing, no discussion, just everybody's thoughts on a wind turbine. 3 minutes, Georgie, go.
Hey, Anthony, I hate to cut George off. Let me,
I was looking at the screen to see who was really going to take up the 3 minutes. I stayed away
Oh, I
from.
could take a lot more than 3 minutes.
I
Anthony.
stayed away from Mike because I knew that wasn't going to happen. Okay, but go ahead. I'm sorry, Michael. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it might be helpful to put it into context. Maybe me and Joanna can fill in here as to why this is important. And you know, obviously the council is requesting the board make a recommendation for ordinance language concerning the wind turbine. And the reason of that is because the current moratorium has expired. So the reason why you might want to adopt an ordinance for the wind turbines is, and Joanna, fill me in if I'm missing anything here. Currently, the prohibited uses list in the ordinance says anything that's not on this list is prohibited. Or I should say, well, you know what I mean. And so if somebody wanted to put in a wind turbine today, obviously they can't apply for a special use permit, but they could pursue it through a use variance, correct, Joanna?
Yes.
And so why that's important is because the review criteria for a use variance is not the same as if you were to have language in the zoning ordinance that structures approval criteria for a wind turbine. And that is important to know on the back end of things. If a denial of a wind turbine were to get appealed to the courts, because the use variance approval criteria is not as would likely not be as strong as a special use criteria that you would hopefully institute as a result. Joanna, can you fill me in?
Because it's not as specific. So when you're talking about a use variance, the the elements that you're meeting are more general. But when you're talking about an actual ordinance, for example, the solar ordinance, you have specific parameters that the person or the company needs to conform to. So if you don't have those in your ordinance and the board is then confronted with this use variance and they're just pulling these parameters kind of from the air, a court has an easier time on doing it because it's not based on any set ordinance that you have. It's just kind of based on an opinion that the board maybe came up with. And was it arbitrary? Was it capricious? Was it based on anything? So when you have actual parameters in your ordinance, it's easier, so long as they're reasonable. It's easier for a court to uphold a denial or but it's easier also for the board when they're making a decision because the parameters are there for you. I know the board is concerned about, development and this happening willy-nilly. This is going to protect you.
Yeah.
Having nothing does not protect you. Having our current ordinance does not protect you.
Now, Joanna, a quick question. I'll leave it for the end. Okay, does everybody understand that?
Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I mean, that was it. There's more we can get into about that. But the only thing, I guess, because I had a conversation with George this afternoon too, that I shot over to Joanna. The question was, would the state likely give the town, so if the state were to enact some sort of legislation that requires towns to have some sort of allowance for wind turbines in their local ordinance, would the state provide any sort of grace period in order to adopt that language? And Joanna's opinion was likely not. So again, just adding to it seems like it would be more to the benefit of the town to take the opportunity to structure the development in a way that you think would be most appropriate, rather than not having anything and possibly being subject to the will of a developer.
Joanna, legal question. Why is it that I'm just saying, I mean, that's why I'll use it at the end. I don't want to ask this question at the beginning. So quickly, George, your thoughts on wind turbines for the town of Foster?
I've spoken to a couple people. I've done some research on it, and there is a lot of problems with wind turbines. I personally, I mean, I sent the emails. You've got flicker, you've got headaches, you've got low frequency noise, you've got vibration in windows. So I personally think if we're going to do anything, it would be advantageous to us to say 10 kilowatts. That's it. And that's a personal homeowner's windmill. Even a 15 kilowatt is 80 feet in the air. We have a building, we have a zoning 2-story building requirement, yet we're going to allow a 200-foot structure. I mean, there's no logic behind it. It's awful. I think to impose that kind of thing on our neighbor, it's hideous.
Okay.
And Joanna, do you have any firsthand knowledge of any current bills being introduced at the state level? So we
I
would
have
be
not seen
making a
anything
decision.
introduced right now.
I mean, at any time, the state could say, okay, it's Tuesday. Everyone has to wear red shirts on Tuesday, right?
Oh, let's not get into that. Okay.
No.
I mean, do we want to plan based on what might happen or plan based on what we want? And then.
Okay.
I will back up and say, regardless if the state doesn't do anything, right now, if somebody came with an application, they could come with a use variance application.
But if we say, Joanne, if we say, all right, we're only allowing 10 kilowatt wind turbines, does that put an end to it? Why or why not?
You're prohibiting a whole nother class kind of outright.
All right, that'll okay.
But that's
Okay, this is what I didn't want to get into. I feel your thoughts about that, Helen.
As you guys probably all know, George, you're not going to get any argument, I don't think, from anybody on this board. We have gone around about that's why we have a moratorium. We had people who came up from West Greenwich to the planning board meetings who were in the range of those big wind turbines.
Coventry. They were from Coventry. They were from Green.
Thank you, Joanne.
Okay, so I know, okay, I know your feeling about this, Helen. I got you.
Can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we please find the ordinance? I'm sure that other towns have ordinances at this point.
I'm
Please,
gonna get to that, Ellen, absolutely. Because I'm, yeah, okay. Stay away from you, Mike. Dave, your thoughts on a wind turbine?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much we can restrict it. I mean, can we do 10 kilowatts? I mean, that's why we have to make the parameters, I guess, but is it something that we can't stop? I mean, it's going to happen, right?
Never gonna know if you don't try.
Right, but somebody's gonna come in and they're gonna want to do it, and it's probably, you can't stop it. So we gotta make the parameters as, tight as possible, I would think.
Okay,
But, we gotta really research and see what we can do. I mean, I have no idea what we can do.
okay. Lynn, hold on. I'm gonna just, before I open up the discussion, I just want to get just the board's ideas. Hillary, your thoughts on wind turbines?
I've heard a lot of mixed things from people. I mean, I think alternative energy is great, but I think that you have to have large enough tracts of land so they're not abutting people's homes. I think that, yeah. I'm looking at George's lengthy email with a lot of information in it too. But I know that people in North Kingstown, when the turbines first went in near the old Bald Hill Nursery, and there was a whole bunch of problems that people had, and they were having health concerns and other things. And I think it's something that we should spell out if it's going to
Okay.
happen.
Okay, Mike Carpenter, your thoughts?
Well, I guess at this point, because I mean, the item was just an update, or not an update, but a proposal. We did a draft ordinance, a
Yeah.
wind turbine ordinance, which I shared with Mike. I think that would be, and I'm only saying this because I agree with you, Anthony, that we don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. I think it'd be really good to review that draft ordinance that we prepared. It was not acted on by the council. Instead, the council issued a moratorium.
You all have a copy of that ordinance.
Right.
Yeah, we never sent it though. We never sent it to the council.
Yeah, I guess it just kind of
Right.
died on the vine or whatever,
Yeah.
And so historically,
Let's
Right.
look at it. I don't remember it.
let's use that as a framework to
Mhm.
begin our effort to develop a new ordinance, or an ordinance that would be effective on review, both from Joanna and the council, because the intent of the board and the intent of the council would be to prohibit commercial wind turbine development.
Not,
I'm also going to send out a paper that I prepared for the previous planning boards on electric power. We all refer to windmills and solar panels as alternate energy. The correct definition is distributed generation, which is regulated by a government agency called ISO. They essentially manage the grid. And there are specific ratings, as George and Dave pointed out, that they have established for exporting commercial power. If in fact we were challenged by a developer, he would not be interested in anything less than 500 kilowatt output. I'm sure everybody here has gone down Route 14 headed toward Johnston and past Bonagro's property. and seen the windmills right on Route 14. Those are 1,500 kilowatts. They generate 480 volts AC, which is transformed into 4,160 volts by on-site transformers and sent back to the utility for distribution. I'm not trying to overpower or make anything sound complicated, but the cutoff for commercial exploitation of alternate energy is 500 kilowatts, simply because of the cost that's incurred by the utility to distribute that power in the grid. That's where the energy has value. Below 500 kW, the value is primarily to the landowner. So if a farmer wanted to have a windmill, a 250 kilowatt windmill would power up his farm. So we address these issues in that draft ordinance. I have a multi-page PowerPoint presentation that was put together by National Grid explaining distributed generation. It's a very complicated issue by necessity, simply because power distribution is very complicated, as we've all recently witnessed in Texas. If we don't apply the standards that are already established, and I think everybody's already kind of suggested that, we don't want to create an ordinance that's not defensible. So we need to move forward and make sure that we take the draft ordinance that we worked on and use those standards for our ordinance so that we can enforce them. We can't not allow alternate energy when our entire country is committed to alternate energy, unless everyone decides to vote differently.
Okay, Michael, I got your idea there. Go ahead, Georgie, and then I'll give mine.
I'm wondering if we can draft it to size, Michael, because 100 kilowatt windmill has an 80-foot diameter blade, 80-foot diameter blade.
No, not necessarily. The diameter,
I looked at several sites and that's what I come up with.
it depends on
So
the blade.
International Society.
Yeah. The
ISO.
100, yeah, the 100,
Okay.
I don't want to get into specifics.
Yeah, we'll
okay?
get into the stats after
Yeah.
on something like that, but
Well, I
we're
think
talking-
maybe restricting by size might be the way, because you're still looking at an 80-foot, if you look at an 80-foot blade, right? How high up does that have to be to meet standards? It's got to be at least double the height.
Do you know
You can
how
have
high the
something
windmills
towering over
are?
the
Does
town.
everybody know how high the windmills are on Route 14?
yeah, the windmill itself is 500 feet. When the blade
That's correct.
extends, it's over 700 feet.
Well,
Okay, and what I was gonna say, without getting into the stats, when we first did our ordinances and we were trying to put a footprint and everything, if you go to the Route 14 ones where we said you couldn't do them near a building because if they fall, this and that, they are right next to buildings. That whole scenario of windmills and the way they used to be has totally changed. The blades are all designed now. They won't go flying. If they break, they just drop. There's all kinds of things that have been done. The three things that we need to know, okay, the infrastructure in Foster is a little difficult to handle a windmill right now, okay? If it wasn't, they'd be knocking on our doors right now. And I've spoken to the developers who do the windmills. We don't have the infrastructure in Foster, okay, to handle a windmill. And that's why there's no more solar farms knocking on the door, because there is no more infrastructure to handle the three-phase and all the power coming. And the one that they have on Chopner Hill is almost, what do you call them, Mike? Is almost maxed out to handle whatever it has to be. So that's in our favor, okay? I have a problem with having somebody with an 80-foot windmill in his yard that I can see or a 400-foot one in my yard that I can make money on? What's the difference? Okay, that there. Secondly, all that, kind of like what Mike is saying, all that stuff that you said, George, your research and everything, I did it also, but it all goes out the window, the flicker, the noise and all of that, because they've all revamped them and made them differently. Supposedly they don't have that. I got you. I know where you're going with that. And
How can you
there are
control the flicker if it's the sunlight and the blades hitting?
they say that it doesn't harm anything, that flicker. I've been underneath the ones, I have a garage underneath near the ones on Route 6 and on 14. And I will tell you, my personal experience, one night on a nice, cool, calm night, I thought there was a plane coming, and I kept looking up in the air, looking for this plane. And what it was is every time that blade came around, it was like the whooshing of a plane. And I'm like, wow. And that thing, and I was 500 feet away from it, 1,000 feet. So I sympathize with everything everybody's saying. Now, my question to the judge, I mean, the solicitor, Joanne. I did say that, didn't I? Did I call you judge? I'm sorry, Your Honor.
I am a judge. It's fine.
I know that. So you think I don't know this stuff, huh, Joanna? Okay,
What's the question?
Why is it that we cannot just have an ordinance flat out? Windmills are not allowed in the town of Foster, like they're not allowed in East Greenwich, and they're not allowed in a lot of these other towns. Why is that?
West Greenwich did enact one.
No, East Greenwich.
West Greenwich has one too. West Greenwich has one. I don't know about East Greenwich, but you run into a constitutional challenge. So you can enact that, but if somebody challenges it and they win, you have no ability to then limit what they do. So it leaves you very vulnerable. And in my opinion, with what is going on with what our state is calling renewable energy and these alternate sources, I do not believe that it will be upheld in court. And I think to do it leaves the town vulnerable.
Okay. Mike, can you, or someone, the town of Hopkinton, okay, has ordinances and has not to allow solar farms and windmills in that town. And they have hired an attorney that's willing to fight it every single time not to have it. Okay, not so much, and I just want to, I would like to know how they have it written. Me, myself, I know what you're saying, Joanne, and everything's going this green. And we kind of like contradict ourselves because a lot of people want green, but we don't want to see it in our yard. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's basically what it is. Yeah, that's great, not in my yard.
The only thing green is money.
And some people are like, yeah, I want it in my yard so I can make money. You know, I don't want it in the town unless it's in my yard to make money. I mean, the opinions are all over the map. Okay, but you can't make it restrictive enough, Joanna. Okay, because then it's a challenge also.
Well, yes. So you cannot make your ordinance so restrictive that you could never put one up. But you can make it, it's a fine line.
It's either they can do it or they can't.
But you can, if you could put one up in two different parcels in the town, then that's still a viable option. If you make one so that you could never put it up anywhere in the town, okay, well then that's really that's an all-out prohibition. But as long as it is reasonably tailored, I think last time we were talking about the fall zone and the girl who was there from where our company is from that wanted to put it up, she got up and walked out when we were talking about extending the fall zone. And she's like, well, that doesn't leave enough parcels near transfer stations. Well, it's not our job to open up parcels that are convenient to a transfer station. It's our job to make it restrictive enough so that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan, is not infringing on other people's rights, but you're not infringing on the owner's right to also do what they want to do with their land. I mean, being able to use your land is a constitutional right. That's why these challenges, are serious. And you can hire a lawyer. I mean, I'm happy to go and fight for it. But at the end of the day, if the court rules the way that I am predicting, then whoever wants to put up this poll, they just put it up wherever they want, and there's no restrictions. That's the danger that's the gamble.
Okay, Lynn?
I just, prior to this meeting, I looked back in planning board minutes, and I know about a year ago, you voted to, I guess this was going to be part of your proposal to the council, to ban, to have prohibited wind turbines above a certain, I think it was 100 kilowatts. Now, you referenced 3 towns, Richmond, Hopkinton, and North Kingstown. That have that. I'm wondering if, maybe going to them, have they been challenged? Have they had to tweak their ordinance? Maybe their planner or someone could give you some feedback so that you're not reinventing the wheel entirely. If they have something that has stood up against a challenge, that might be a good thing. And I'm wondering a question for Joanna. You can't tell people what they can't do with their land, but somebody can't start a landfill on their land just because they want to raise money, right?
No, there are, you have constitutional rights as to what you can do with your land. And so restrictions have to be, zoning has to be tailored to the public health, safety, and welfare. So you need to have a rational reason. And landfills are a little bit easier to justify. I mean, I think the worst case is the cell phone towers. The feds came in and did the Telecommunication Act and essentially said, yeah, we don't care about any of this information that is hurting people's health. You have to allow people to have it. So.
Okay,
So
just curious.
What I think we should do, Michael, we'll get that ordinance that we had, okay, which that kind of like was everybody's agreement on this board, tweak it a little bit. And I don't know, I hate giving you things to do, okay? But I can call them myself and ask the planner in them other towns what they have. I have no problem introducing myself and asking them what they have as.
I can reach out to the planners. That's no problem.
You know what I mean? Maybe you
Yeah.
guys
It was
talk.
Lynn. It was Hopkinton, North Kingstown,
Hopkinton, Richmond, and South Kingstown. North Kingstown has one.
I
When you're
think
muted.
Coventry, you might want to start with Coventry because they allowed a couple of these to go in, and then people
And then they stopped them.
were like up
Yeah.
in arms. And then they crafted one that was fairly restrictive in response to the public kind of outcry against them.
Okay.
So I think Coventry might be
Yeah.
a good place to start. I know theirs is a pretty good one. Mark is going to send me West Greenwich, but that's the
Okay.
all out.
Okay. And the other
So-
3 were Richmond, Hopkinton, and North Kingstown.
Not North Kingstown has one.
Oh, well,
The one
but this, they have according to your minutes from last year, they were one of the towns that have prohibited any
Well-
commercial wind power.
Well, what happened in North Kingstown, the
Oh.
one they do have in North Kingstown is the guy that puts them up, Green Energy. He
Oh,
put
that's
it up
right.
in his development and he gave everybody in the development a break on their electric bill.
Money.
But then North Kingston came in and they came up with restrictions, so no other ones in North Kingston could get put up. But then North Kingston has to be careful because they have Quonset Point. And that's a great place for them. Now, just for you, well, I don't know who would like this or who would dislike it. At my marina, they just opened up an office of a company that is mapping the grounds outside of the wind turbines between Black Island and Martha's Vineyard to find the hard ground to put up more windmills. So now I don't know if that's good for the energy people that like it or the people that don't want to see them out in the middle of the ocean. I mean, but just to have you know, we're worried about the ones here in Foster. They want to put them up, they will find a way to put them up. If they
I
think they can
also-
make money.
And Mike, this might be a question for you, Mike Carpenter. I don't know what the status of our transfer stations are. Can the transfer stations that are in our town even take more energy to the amount that it would
No.
be financially feasible for somebody to come put one of these windmills? Because honestly, I think that however we situate them, you'd likely only be able to put up one because of the amount of the fall zone. And economically, is it feasible? The money you're going to get from one, you might have to build a whole new transfer station. Would that even be economically viable for somebody? I don't think our transfer stations have enough.
You're bringing up a very point that I made about ISO.
I learned from you, Mike.
Well, they control the grid, and that power has to be acceptable by the utility that owns the transfer stations or the transformer stations, which ours is up near Chopness Hill. But that power that's generated by the windmills is only available when the windmills are operational because of at least a 6-knot wind. They won't even turn them on unless there's enough wind to generate power. Every single site that we have, both windmill and solar panel, has to have a 3-phase connection in order to get the power at 480 volts 3-phase, transformed to 4160 volts, back into the utility lines to what Joanna just mentioned, the transformer station, so that it can be again boosted to what we call high voltage, okay? Those transmission lines that we all see that are way up in the air, that all the pigeons sit on, that's 500,000 volts. That's the grid. So unless you, as a developer, can find a site that has 3-phase power already in place, that has a transfer station or a transformer station that can upgrade that voltage and get it into the grid so that it can be transmitted into the grid system, that has no value. There's no sale value. You can't earn the energy credits that you want. You can't sell the power that you want to sell because you can't enter into the grid. So that's why I gave everybody that PowerPoint presentation, because the first slide says, if you are interested in alternate energy, the first thing you must do is call the utility to see if you have access to the grid. In Foster, we have a very limited access to the grid, very limited 3-phase power. It's sporadic on the different highways. And as you can see, most of our solar panel arrangements are on Route 6, Route 101, and of all places on Theodore Francis Road, because that's where the Nike site used to be. Okay. I guess I'm trying to reinforce what Joanna's saying is, and what Anthony mentioned, we don't have the infrastructure to support major alternate energy development because we don't have access to the grid.
We don't today, but that could always change. So if we adopt an ordinance based on the fact that
Yeah,
we don't,
right.
it's just a bad decision.
I totally agree, George, but the folks who are providing the money to develop solar and wind are investment bankers.
I get it, but it's still not worth the chance to me.
What's that?
It's still not worth the chance to me. You said Route 6, okay, so now somewhere on Route 6, they stick a solar farm because we have access to the grid. I mean, a wind turbine. It's just, I think, I mean, that helps us in the fact that maybe no one will ever look, but I think if we have that going for us, plus we don't allow wind turbines going for us, we're
gonna come up with a thing. Hell, and we know what we're gonna do, Miss Ryder.
No, I just wanted to say way back when the first one in town was put on Theodore Foster Drive, my husband was working for National Grid, and what he did was design additions, et cetera, to substations. And that's what they did. They just added on to the one at Chopmist Hill. And if you have been by there lately, that thing is growing. I didn't realize how much bigger it has gotten over the last few years. So they can do add-ons that will increase the capacity to be able to accept this energy.
If they want to do something, they can, because the solar farm on 101 is tapped into, they ran it all the way to Chopness Hill, because that was the only place that could handle it. Okay, and I've spoken to Green Energy about solar and windmills here in the town. And he told me you don't have the infrastructure right now to handle what they want to do. Because if we did, they'd be knocking on everybody's doors who has a big piece of property. So, okay, moving on, I guess, Mr. Allen.
Please.
Paul, you got to just keep it kind of short, because I know.
I understand. I think that, it's reasonable to have a strong ordinance. And I'm not opposed to that, because for the reasons that have been laid out. But it should go with a permanent moratorium enacted by the council. In other words, we should not assume if they want to come here, they're going to come here. Is the town sovereign or not? And we should be prepared to protect our quality of life and the character of our community. These are devastating wherever they go. Who's going to be the victim? There will be victims if they're allowed in.
No question. Okay, no question. But then
There is a move if the legislature can be influenced sufficiently to protect forest, not just to allow these things to go anywhere in the state. They don't belong in the western part of the state. They belong in the eastern part of the state, the industrialized part of the state, away from residences. And there are, many more sites over there that could be used. They should not come here or any of the other communities in the western part of the state. I've spoken to the council president in Richmond, and they were very proud of what they've done to protect their community. And he was sympathetic and sad about, the way things might go here.
Yeah, I hear. So that's what we'll do, Michael. We'll just get a couple of guys, Richmond, those towns, ask them what they did, how it's worded. Maybe it'll make our life easier. Okay, moving on. Thanks, guys. Moving on, which is really just future agenda items.
Our agendas are pretty full out going forward now with Turbine
exactly.
discussion.
The only thing I see here is if we do ever get to the 2020 road and bridge plan.
Yep.
We got to bring in the senator, the DPW, what's his name? Gordon, the mayor, Rogers. He has to, because he's going to develop the budget. I don't know what his roads are.
I'll talk to him about the road and bridge.
No,
plan.
he's the expert in that field. Georgie?
I was reading some articles online and
Don't read articles online. Don't
and-
believe
and
everything you see.
I was looking at the cost. I was looking at the cost depending on traffic, on what it would cost to actually upkeep a paved road versus an unpaved road. And in a lot of cases, if there's reduced traffic, it's actually less expensive to keep the road unpaved and
Sure.
safer. So I think it's kind of a moot point. I mean, we don't really have a lot of traffic on our roads. And if you look at the traffic, it was considerable.
Yeah, but I don't think, George, the road plan, well, this is not part of what's going on, but just real quick, I don't think the road plan has anything to do with paving all the roads.
Yeah,
The
not
road-
necessarily.
The road plan is they don't have the right culverts. They don't have the right pitch on the roads. They don't have the right drainages on the road. It has nothing to do with asphalt. Because now what they do, what they're making it look like it's pretty easy. Oh, we got $200,000. We'll pave this road. Well, what road? They throw a dot at it. So
Yeah, I don't think we should be paving roads. I agree with the pitch and the water runoff.
that's
but-
part of it. So we want to see what the new DPW director's thoughts are.
Yeah.
And when the time comes, and we'll come up with a plan, because when I built my house, they gave me the same thing. I had to make a road going into it, and this is 20 years ago. And the woman says, well, it's not on our 5-year road plan. I didn't know what that meant. And she said, she gave me some gobbledygook. I said, okay, I walked away and I cut the road in myself on Central
White
Pike.
Anthony Road?
Well, no, they got asphalt. Now you tell me why does a dead end road get asphalt? I rest my case. Okay, that is stupidity at its finest. But George, did they ever put the stuff on the fences?
They've got it, yeah, they've got the stuff on the side fences.
Yeah,
Getting a little,
yeah,
Oh, I went off track. I'm sorry, Joey.
thank you.
I have a way with doing that. Okay. Anybody else have anything? And then I'll talk to you in a second, George.
Okay.
And I'll put on the update, I'll put on the update for the comprehensive plan next meeting too. That'll just be a quick update from me, but
Okay.
so I can talk a little bit about it.
Okay. We know what's next.
Helen's motion.
Michael, I can help with editing on the comp plan.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'll talk to you about it, Helen.
Okay.
Okay. Someone want to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
There you go.
I can take a hint.
Okay. So we have to have a roll call on the adjourn. I always forget. I should know this.
You don't need a second, but we do need the roll call.
Okay.
Helen, you're
Helen,
muted.
muted.
Yes, I am. Mike Carpenter,
Aye.
Hillary,
Aye.
David,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Anthony,
Yes.
me too. Okay.
All right.
Meeting is over.
8:50.
Thank you.
Good
Thanks for
night.
coming, folks. Drive home safely. Mike, don't shut me off 1 second. What were you
George
saying?
will talk.
I want to know about the fence too.
Yeah, what happened?
Okay, so-
Did they
so-
put the stuff up?
So the cheesy
Oh,
green.
wait,
pickles
can
are-
some people?
Yeah, we got a quorum on here.
Ah,
I'm going. I'm going.
All right, we're not voting on that even. All right, where are you, George? Here you are.
Oh, wait, we
Yeah.
still, I think we still have a
still
quorum.
too many? All right,
Yes.
George, tell me later. I'll leave. Bye.
Sounds good. Bye, Hillary.
Aye.
Let me stop.
Okay, good.